Hello, everyone. My name is Chance, and I want to put this out there first, right? I have the same thing on if you're watching this on YouTube. I'm not dirty and wearing something back-to-back weeks. I promise. I care. But no, generally, I'm recording 2 episodes in one day just because y'all won't realize the same day, of course. But I'm going to just put this out there because people on YouTube are going to see this. I don't want to be known as dirty. I'm good on that. I care about my hygiene. But I'm recording 2 episodes just because right now I am a dad to 2 kids. I'm not aware of how much of my schedule I can always come here. So for the likelihood of something happening and I just have to show up to my responsibilities, generally a lot of my time really isn't my own anymore. I try to keep my schedule as free as possible. I used to try to do as much as I can to keep myself busy, that it is, that. Now it's the complete opposite. I want to stay as free as possible because a lot of bullshit's going to happen. And for me, I'm not the biggest fan of wasting someone's time. So if I make plans with someone, I'm like, damn, my father duty is calling. Yeah, I don't expect people to be understanding. You feel me? So it's like, I understand your time is valuable. You could have done something else with it. Yes, this isn't something I'm in control of, but still, at the end of the day, the person's time is being wasted. I feel like a lot of times we get, and I want to talk about this because it's funny, intent isn't the only thing that matters, bro. I feel like at times we are really stuck on it. But just because I wanted to be a good person, and just because I wanted to be a good person doesn't always matter. Let's just start off with that. It doesn't always matter. Not like, oh, if you have good intentions, it means you weren't attempting to do something wrong, which means, yeah, you're not a bad person, but you can still affect someone the same way that a bad person would. Someone who's very aggressive, they don't know how to talk, the emotional intelligence is lacking. What I'm defending them is like, why you be on that dumb shit? And I'm saying it like this as I really want you to understand, this is someone that really don't care about emotions in terms of communicating things. This is the person which really they don't give a fuck, right? And it's that person where you're speaking to them and everything like that. They're like, yeah, I don't really, why you be doing dumb stuff like that? It makes no sense to me. Why are you doing that? And then that's the person who's kind of like, damn, I'm over here sharing and I'm venting to you. This is probably not the time to just call me out like that. I know it's needed at times for certain people, but if it's not needed and that's what you chose to give, because this was the easiest to you, that's crazy, right? But now, even if you were a good person, it's like, that was kind of dumb, wasn't it? If the person's not in a good state of mind, they're not going to process it. Oh, he was making a jokey joke. No, I'm really emotional right now, and everything is an easy trigger if you're going to tell me, yo, I know I did something bad in the first place. I came to you to have this be a safe space, not have it be somewhere where I'm judged, because I'm already doing that enough for myself anyways. See what I mean? The intention really does not always matter. I've watched my niece attempt to clean something and then she completely breaks it. She's not a bad person. She wanted to do some good, but I still got to spend the same money out of my pocket to buy whatever she broke. So intent only goes so far. And as the person who is doing the act with the intentions, you can't tell someone, hey, you can't react this way because I meant to do good. No, they can react that way, and you're like, hey, I really didn't mean to do this, and I apologize that it still happened, and you were still affected in that manner. A lot of people don't know how to apologize in that manner, and it's like, sometimes you're not apologizing for doing something wrong. You're apologizing for the fact that something went wrong, and you didn't want it to. But sometimes we're so in our egos, it's like, I attempted to do good. My intentions were good, and now because things didn't go the right way, you expect me to be perfect, you're sad, you're angry, I don't get it. Bro, people are going to react one way or another, but it's the conversation afterwards that matter. Sometimes you just got to ease in and be patient. Your intent doesn't get rid of any wrongdoings that's been committed. I think that's a very childish way to think. It's also very delusional, and I know a lot of people like that. I mean, yeah, this happened, but I wasn't even trying to do that shit. Why does that matter? And I stay away from people who cannot understand this. It is one of my non-negotiables. You need to understand that there are situations where you didn't do nothing wrong, but you're still going to have to apologize. Why? Because if you weren't in the picture, my emotions would not be impacted in this manner. You're just holding yourself accountable for the fact that something went wrong. Not what you did went wrong. My interpretation of what you said went wrong, but it impacted my emotions. So what sense does it make? I know you mean to do some good, but I'm just trying to tell you. When you put that person in a position when they have to do that while they're emotional, that's a lot, bro. If you care for this person, just give something that can help. And for me, this is one thing I will never understand. You can't sit here and tell me you love this person, you care for them, but then they ask you to do something that's very like minute, the bare minimum. And you're like, nah, I know this might make you happier and your happiness should be my priority, but no. Really? I asked you for something very basic. I told you how to do it. I'm not even sitting here as the man where it's kind of like, you should know things. I know a lot of people like this in the dating world. I'm not going to teach nobody how to do this. No. I'm not going to teach someone how to care and love for me. I'm not going to teach someone how to care and love, but I'm going to teach someone how they should present that care and that love for me. Because the same way they showed up for other people with those same traits and same characteristics, they're going to have to do that a little differently for me. So I got to tell them, or else their intentions isn't really going to matter, because they're going to attempt to do good, but they don't know what good to me is. So you got to talk. You feel me? Oh, this is a big one. Asking for help. And I know I've definitely spoken about this briefly, but it is something I suck at, right? You know, there are other flaws. I've said, like, this is something I'm still dealing with, where it's like, I've done some work, but it still needs a lot of it. I've done a little bit of work with this, I'll be honest, but nowhere near the amount that I should. Like, it's getting to the point where it's like, because things have gotten so overwhelming, I can reach out to some friends like, yo, let's really do something. I feel like I really need to, like, it's been stressful as fuck, I'm not gonna lie. Like, when I can be very transparent with my friends, it's like, I've learned how to present it in a way where it's kind of like, I don't have to break down what I have to say. Because like I said, sometimes, unless I've processed my emotions, I don't give people access to it. And the reason for that is, sometimes what people say and do at times affect my own decision making as a people pleaser. So I pull away from that influence until I've made up my mind on it, and then I can go to people for advice like, does this make sense and stuff like that. It doesn't mean like whatever I decide, I know it's the best decision. No, I'm still gonna get people's opinions on it, but I want to do that after I've came to a conclusion like, this is what's happening, this is how I feel about it. Now no one can interrupt that, and I can say like, what do I want to do with it? This is what I think I should do with it. But I'm going to bring it to other people and see what they think I should do with it. Now it's like, what I want to do is not going nowhere. They're just telling me certain approaches may work for you a little bit better. And for shit like that, I fuck with it heavy. I love things like that. I don't need you to like, sometimes I really don't need advice. And sometimes I get the most bare minimum advice. I'm not saying it doesn't help. But in those, there are moments where what I really need as a logical person is answers. And when you're not giving that and you're giving me something I already know, it's nice and all, but I didn't come here to just talk. I actually wanted to get something out of it. And it is a little unfair sometimes, I'll be very honest, but people should respect that, though. It's like, hey, I don't want to come to you and stuff because what I'm venting to you, I don't really get it. Because normally it's just like, I'm not the person that really loves to just talk. When I'm processing my emotions, I do it out loud. So the thought of getting it out there, I do it 24/7. So needing to talk about it again, having someone be there and listen matters. But for me, that really only kicks in when you're talking about someone I can be intimate with. Not like during intimate moments, but more so like they're able to be nurturing. They can like rub on my head while I'm laying on their lap and I'm just talking about my emotions. Now they added some value to me saying things out loud without offering anything. In those moments, that works for me. But if it's just talking about my problems just for the point of it, I'm good on that. I know a lot of people do it. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but I know that doesn't work for me. So I'm not going to do it just because I know somebody might enjoy hearing about my problems and stuff. That doesn't make too much sense to me. But yeah, like, I feel like a lot of us, we think asking for help is like such a weak thing. Like, giving up means I can't do it by myself. No one does anything by themselves. You think you are self-made. Like, it's BS, bro. Like, and there is a little delusion at times. We think, like, we've really gotten to this point on our own. There is not a single thing you've seen me accomplish, you've seen me do, seen me acquire, understand, learn, where I was the only reason for it. And I'm saying this because it's like, even if the person did nothing that was beneficial or that was helpful, when you have access to perspectives and you can flip things and make them work for you. One of my biggest lessons that I've learned was from a relationship where that person mistreated the hell out of me. I learned that lesson. I didn't learn it on my own. I learned it because I dated that person. I'm never going to regret it because now I have access to something that is so beneficial from something that I felt like wasn't really worth a lot of, where I felt like my investments in it kind of didn't pay off, you know? But perspective matters. If you say like, oh, it didn't work out, they mistreated me, it didn't go that well, I invested so much of myself into it, it left me depleted. It doesn't do nothing for you. And for me, I don't like the idea that I'm going to experience something in life and I have no control over what I get to extract out of it. If y'all are comfortable with that, I don't think to be honest, sometimes you don't realize how problematic certain things are until you actually are in a situation where they're biting you in the butt, you know? But yeah, for me, I always like the idea that I would not let someone be in control of how I feel about something that has happened. I will always make sure it's my own perspective that gets to take over. So with that terrible ex, it was generally a good person. So when I say terrible ex, I'm more so referring to the dynamic of the relationship. I'm not saying this person that was my ex was terrible. And I will say this, I'm not referring to the person y'all seen on my social media most recently. This is way back. So I want to make sure no hate is thrown at someone who's very amazing. But yeah, it's like you don't do anything on your own. You may not receive the type of help that you want, but nothing is accomplished on your own. And the more you try to satisfy your ego by doing everything on your own and everything like that, you're going to realize just how much you're sabotaging your potential. I can do this on my own in 2 hours. But if I call my boy, I can get it done in about 45 minutes. And now I have an hour and 15 minutes to invest into myself doing something else. Being somebody who does everything on your own, you become someone that's very shitty at maximizing the most out of your time. Why do you think a boss delegates things? Even if some things are his tasks. In those moments where it's chaotic and there's a lot on his plate that only he can handle, he delegates certain tasks. It's a priorities list. All right, these things I know I got to handle them on my own to make sure I get the best out of it. So my self-growth and self-development, sometimes that's what I look at it. But if I'm thinking about a situation where kind of like this, right, where it's like I had to step in to be a parent soon out of nowhere. I know one of my friends that was in that exact situation, not based off a case, but she ended up having to become a parent to her younger brother. And for me, I'm like, oh, if I go to her and talk to her about this, she can help me so much. That's when I'm going to go to those people for help, right? You need to know who to go for help for. Because a lot of the times we stop asking for help because it's something we struggle with and it's not received properly. Which means I know I struggle with asking for help, but I'm going to try to be better. And then you go and you try to be better and people are like, get the fuck away from me. And I'm being that aggressive to show you, like, some people generally deal with that. And once they deal with that, it's like, oh, this is why I'm scared of this. And they stop. But for me, it's kind of like understanding, like, when you are asking for help, it is you saying, I don't want to give up. I haven't given up yet. And also understand, I'm not saying don't put your all into it at first and really try to figure it out on your own. I think there's a lot of benefits in that. But know when to pull away. Know when that additional effort is counterproductive. Bring somebody else in, their perspective, or step away from it. And then come back to whatever it is. Don't beat yourself up over doing the exact same thing over and over again, knowing it's not working. But yeah, generally, I think it really goes into giving yourself grace. I've been meeting a lot of people that don't do that for themselves. And I don't either, I'll be very honest. Because I'm aware it's a thing that's important, I can call myself out on it. But there are people that don't understand the importance of it, so they're not calling themselves out and not even aware of it. So, pay attention to yourself a lot. Know what you can handle, know what's beneficial for you, and know what you can't give up on just because you're around the wrong people, the wrong group of people. There's a lot of things I was so close on giving up on about myself, and there are things I like. And it was because the environment that I was in, it just didn't work properly. It didn't benefit this, you know? So I tried to pull away from certain things that made me great just because I was so tired of dealing with the emotions, dealing with the chaotic personalities that were around me. I'm like, bro, being this type of person is way too draining around you guys. A lot of the times, there are certain things you do that don't sit so well with you because you know this is not the person you want to be. This is not who you are. But, and I know this so well because I do it. And certain times when you suck at giving up and walking away from things, you give it a version of yourself that can maintain it, but you know it's not how you want it to be. In certain relationships, I wanted to be the perfect boyfriend, and I offered them access to that. And at times when they weren't being the perfect girlfriend, I'm like, damn, this isn't a situation that I know I can maintain. I'm not saying just because they weren't perfect. When I realized this was not for me, instead of walking away and everything like that, I was like, I don't know how to leave you, but I know being the type of boyfriend to you that I want to be is going to be too much. So I'm going to become the guy that cheats a little bit every once in a while. That makes it more manageable. It's like when I have these questions, why are you being loyal to someone? And it's always the wrong questions as well. In my past, it was like, why are you being loyal? It's like, no, why are you still with this person? If you feel like the only way you can maintain a relationship with them is to bring somebody else into it. It's not a good way to think. And it's a way that I've thought for a lot of random situations. And it's something that I'm trying to pull away from. Because I realize it's not about me just hurting that person, but it's me risking my integrity and my character every single time because I don't know how to walk away. See what I mean? Sometimes it's like when you don't know the importance of certain things and why it matters so much, you don't really see how it fucks you up. I could have just been like, oh, I'm with bad people that don't give me what I want. No, I know that I attempt to, my intentions in the beginning generally are genuine. I really want to invest my all into this person. And at times, because my relationship with sex and how I look at women at times, I end up at that point instead of just walking away. But it's because I have abandonment issues. It is very hard for me to say goodbye to somebody, to walk away from somebody, because that has happened in my life so frequently and I've never had a choice. So when I do have a choice, it's really hard to say I'm going to walk away, even though so many people walked away from me in their lives and I never had a chance to control that. My mom had me at a very late age. So even family members, uncles, aunts, dad. My dad passed away when I was 14. But I didn't see my dad since the last time I saw him, I was 10. I never had a chance to say goodbye. I never had a chance to end off on a good note. And that forever will always be something that guides me in a bad place if I don't know how to manage it or if I'm not aware of like, hey, your abandonment issue kicking in. I got to be really fucking logical about it. I'm a people pleaser. I'm very emotionally intelligent. All of these things, when they're mixed in with my abandonment issues, they are a recipe for disaster every single fucking time. These are all things that are very great about me, but because of my abandonment issues, having that added into dynamic, a lot of the times it makes me do really stupid shit just because I am scared of someone giving up on me. Someone walking away and me saying, it was my fault. I wasn't able to do this. I wasn't able to do that. And I'll be very transparent. Like I said, I want you guys to understand, it's like I deal with a lot of the same shit y'all do. I am just a lot more aware of it. So what I'm trying to get you to understand is if you get to this point, you don't need to be healed. Get to a point where you're self-aware about what you do. It helps. I promise you, it actually fucking helps. A lot of the things that are happening to you, people are recognizing that you shouldn't be doing this shit. They're talking, but I'm not going to say nothing to people. People aren't that communicative. So the idea that there's a flaw of yours that is putting itself on display 24/7 and everyone sees it, but you don't, should scare you. And a lot of y'all friends are not going to tell you some flaws you have. And if they do, they're going to present it in a way where you don't even want to listen to it. You got to be the person that constantly has yourself under a microscope where it's like, okay, damn, something went wrong. And you got to be in there a lot. And what I mean by that is, right, if I look at the back of my phone every single day for 15 days, on the 16th day, I will know if something went wrong, if something changed, if something's acting different. The thing is, at times, a lot of us don't care about our growth and what we're dealing with until we're in a situation where it's kind of like everything is going wrong. But it makes no sense. You're not used to how this process works. And when I say your brain is a computer, a lot of people don't really understand what I mean by that. It's because it learns on its own, even when you don't want it to learn on certain things. Like the last episode I broke down was kind of like, if you like, kind of like a parent creating an anxious child if they parent out of fear. You recognize certain things, you take it in, and then you act it out in your own ways. So the fact that you're not gonna constantly pay attention to, these are my processes, this is how they work, this is when they don't work. Wait, this never works in situations that's beneficial for me, so maybe I should get rid of it. Wait, this is dirtying the apple sign, and I know this little curvature really brings out the apple in it. I got to make sure that's gone. You got to make sure you can maintain this and maintain its beauty as much as you can. When you have a cracked screen, you know it affects how you function. The same way when your emotions are fucked up, you can't see clearly what's happening. So I got to get the screen fixed first and then look at what's on my phone. If I'm trying to do that while the screen is cracked, I can't see much. I'm switching the angles. As much, I know this is a metaphor, but I promise you, it's making sense, which is the reason why I'm trying to drill it into y'all. You can't expect to have this much control over yourself, but then you spend so little time with yourself. And I don't mean being alone. I mean being alone with your vulnerability. I'm talking out loud. I'm going about, I have resentment issues. Like, where is this stemming from? Okay, I feel like I've done it. Bro, talk to yourself. Look at yourself as a fucking project. The same way you've looked at all of those people that were terrible for you in a relationship. You understood all their flaws, but you still accepted them. You still loved them. Why are you incapable of giving yourself access to that? You gave them so much fucking grace. And now it's time for you to give yourself that same grace, and you can't. You were with someone that mistreated the hell out of you. You stayed and you managed it. And now you can't even, and now you're mistreating yourself. You're not showing yourself love or anything like that. Self-love is the most important type of love. And I've realized that because it's very hard to love someone from a genuine place unless you love yourself. And I'm telling you this because as a people pleaser, at times, the things that I did for people, the way that I showed up for them, it wasn't because I wanted to. It was because I cared about what they would think of me, and I cared about them showing up. So at times I scratch somebody's back only because I know eventually I need my back scratched, and I don't go to a lot of people. It's not fair. Whoever I help, I should want to help, which is why I'm starting to try to pull away from my intermediate family when it comes to helping, because I found that I'm not enjoying the help that I'm giving. I should enjoy. I used to love it. Like when I come here and I give y'all advice and I'm like, oh, I'm doing something helpful for someone. I walk out of it feeling really happy. I go through Boston traffic and I'm smiling, windows down and all. People honking, I don't care. People cussing, and it makes me feel great. And with my family, at times I'm doing things that are way more important. Not saying this is important, of course, but I don't feel as good. And it's because it's not as genuine. There's a part of me that has the capacity to do so much, and I've gotten to a point where I'm like, I don't think I want to do any more of this. I know this is the type of person that I am. I no longer feel the need to prove it to people. I see them watching, they probably know me. But I feel like I don't need to prove myself to people. And I'm realizing once you no longer feel the need to prove yourself to people, you become so selective about the people that are around you. And that's a beautiful thing, because it allows you to maintain that version of yourself that you work so hard to get to. I was in a relationship where the person generally, it's kind of like I was building myself back up, pieces by pieces. And they were kind of like, ooh, oh, you did a lot of work. Just stripping me of everything I've done. Stripping me. And I stayed. So it was so bad to the point where I'm like, unless I let this person take everything from me, I don't think I'm going to learn, because I was so attached to them. Like, generally, this is a conversation I had with myself. I'm like, all right, I think I have to get to this point to realize that I never want to come back here. So my point is, everything can be beneficial. Just understand how it works and its purpose. Love yourself and give yourself grace. And I've been repeating this whole entire episode, not because of y'all, but because of how much I need to know this. So if I need that much of a reminder of it, and y'all think I'm so emotionally intelligent, I understand everything. When you have problems, y'all come to me, y'all trust me with this. And I'm not saying don't. I'm generally pretty good at this shit. But it means no matter how good you are, the self-growth, self-love, it's a journey. It's a journey. It's not a race. It's not a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's not a jog. It's a journey. And it's a journey that ends with you. Figuratively or literally. You can choose to stop caring about yourself and it ends with you. That's kind of sad. That you're giving up on yourself. Bro, promise you sometimes it's very hard to fight because you don't know what you're fighting for. So in moments where you feel lost and you don't know what's happening and it's hard to give yourself grace, remind yourself of everything that you wanted to do, everything you wanted to accomplish, everything you've accomplished. Times it's not doing the work that's so hard. It's not having something to do the work for. I've seen countless of my friends that were the laziest people I knew. They got a girl pregnant and ended up becoming a situation that was not what they expected. But now they can't be lazy no more. Because if they're lazy, they are a deadbeat dad. You're a terrible father. You're not a provider. You can't play your role. See? Now there's reasons. There's consequences. Now he's on his shit. So it's not that you're a lazy person. You're an unmotivated person. You're someone that hasn't found the reason to invest themselves into something. When you have that mindset and it's more like, I haven't done this yet. It's a little harder to beat yourself over it. And that was actually one of the advices one of my mentors drilled into me. Never say you're not good at something. Never say that. It clicks. This is what I mean. Your brain learns. Things are becoming too chaotic. You're like, I don't want to care about this. I smoke. Now, eventually, you're going to become numb to a lot of the things that you come across. Not just because of the smoking, but because your brain is taking notes. It's like, you really don't want to do this, do you? You don't want to feel this. Okay, bet. I must suppress this so that way it works better for us. This works for you. But it's taking notes all of the time. Some of its notes, it won't work for you. So if you're not aware how to present that, like when you put something out in the air, it stays. You heard it. If I say I suck at being disciplined, I hear that, I'm gonna believe it. The same way when you know you're a great person, but people are they're telling you so many things about yourself that's terrible, it still makes you feel bad, even if none of it is true. So imagine if there is some truth to it, and you're just putting that out there without no guidance for it. I am not as disciplined as I would like to be yet. That acknowledges the fact that I have more work to put in, but I've been working. It means it's not like I've been doing nothing. You got to this point, you want to get here, so it's far. But you've done something, you're just not there yet. And some of these things, bro, like, I don't want to stop growing in my 40s. So if I run out of shit to work on, that's concerning. And this is the thing about life. You pick up flaws as you go. So it's like, hypothetically, you cured all your trauma, you're healed. You're still going to go through things. That's going to add more of them that you got to deal with. And some of them are going to happen. You're not going to realize it matters. But then some things being repetitive or certain themes constantly showing up in your life, now this is something that's really embedded in you, and it's a huge flaw that's affecting the other people around you. So I'm saying you constantly got to be paying attention to this phone. You got to make sure it's fixed so you can always inspect it. I understand every part of this. I can see every part of this. Nothing will scare me. I dropped it. Damn, it's cracked. I'm aware of this. I know there's a way to fix it. I got this. I'm not going to try to do any of the work. Any types of work that I know can't be done while my screen is cracked. I know I can't really see the screen. If I try to play a game, I might cut my hand a little, cut my finger a little bit. As corny as this example sounds, this is you. And I'm using a phone because of how much you care for that shit. We care for this constantly because we understand how useful it is. How useful are you to yourself? That was kind of a bar. I might have just been spit. But I'm going to keep it off that one because I think I really wanted an episode dedicated to acknowledge who you are, acknowledge your worth, and acknowledge all the work that you have, all the work that you still have left to do. But that's okay, bro. It's supposed to be fun. And it's not a linear path. You may stay stagnant with nothing happening for a little bit. But then what's going to happen again? Now, so progress is going to go down. Sometimes it goes up, and it doesn't always go back down. Sometimes it goes up. It's spiked up now. where we're just casually going up, but it's slowing down how much it's going up by, and then boop, and now we dropped a little bit. We had a depressive episode, but that's okay. We already did all the work. We know what it takes to get back up here. For me, I'll be very transparent, right? Which is why I'm telling people, don't be scared of it. If things are a journey, understand that a lot of things are meant to go wrong. The gym, I weigh around the same amount I did back in college when I first started the gym. And that is me being down about 15 pounds. Right? I didn't stop going to the gym. I did everything I was supposed to. But because I got 2 kids that were added to my plate, and I'm father to 2 kids. One is 4, one is 7. Starling and Juliana. It's not like I can be very half-assed with it. I'm a perfectionist. And these are my nieces that I love dearly. Should I stop going to the gym because something outside of my control took away all of the progress that I did? No. It pissed me off for a little bit, and I understand that. But that's the beauty of things that are a journey. You never really lose it. I lost 10 pounds. Oh, my God. Where did it go? It's going to take time and a lot of food, supplements, and the gym, consistency. But it didn't go away. So at times you have an experience with someone and you didn't get to tap into that version of yourself and like, damn, what am I doing? Who is this person? Why am I not acting like myself? Just because you're that type of person doesn't mean you're always going to have access to it. You're going to have to learn how to manage and maintain that version of yourself that you worked up to be. It all requires a different process. Just figure out what it is. Give yourself time and patience. And the last part I will add is something that's been helping me to do that a lot. And I will say this, right? When people give you advice, don't try to take it verbatim. Like what I'm about to say, it doesn't mean you should do exactly that. Understand what's the bigger picture behind it, why it worked, what was the purpose of it. And even if the approach doesn't work, now you can utilize everything about it in other approaches and figure out what works for you. So I'm about to say works, but the approach may not work for you, but it connects with me. For me, helping myself and loving myself and going above and beyond for myself is something that is very hard to do. But I do it for other people so well. So if I can imagine myself doing things for myself, and it's benefiting someone else, it works. Okay. And this is what y'all think, but isn't that what you struggle with? Bro, if you struggle with something and you can find a way to pivot and make it work for yourself for a little bit while you deal with it and then understand how to solve it down the line, that works. But see, this is what I mean. It's learning what works for you. This is a system and you don't always have access to every part of it. So test out things and it will tell you how it feels. You'll try certain shit, you're like, damn, I felt shitty. This is probably not what I should be doing. Or actually, this worked. That felt great. Your brain is clicking. It's like, yo, we're active. We're up. This works. Why are you so afraid to try shit when you're not ever going to get it wrong, whether it works or not? You're always going to have access to the result of it, which means not trying something. Like a lot of people, yeah, you'd be scared that, oh, I don't know, I don't want to try this. It might not work for me. The quickest way to figure out if something is for you is to try it. Generally. Try things. You're going to fuck up. But that's perfect. Now you learn something that doesn't work for you. And if you learn why it doesn't work for you, now you just learned why a shit ton of different things doesn't work for you. And you don't even have to deal with it yet. This is what I mean. I can't plug an Android charger into this. It doesn't work for it. It'll work for somebody else very beautifully. I was like, I'm going to maintain this metaphor throughout the whole episode. But yeah, the thing that I've done, which is the thing that I'm going to leave you guys off with, what I pretty much did was in the morning, I would look at myself in the mirror. When I attract a person, you can understand that, you know? I'm playing. Actually, that has nothing to do with how I look in the mirror. I look in the mirror and I imagine myself as a kid. I have a picture of myself when I was probably like 2 years old or something like that. Big ass head. But yeah, so every single time I wake up in the morning and I look in the mirror, I imagine that same kid. Short as hell, nothing to offer. Like, you just have nothing. You're in a blank state. You're vulnerable. I imagine that I'm doing things for him. This version of myself developed the capacity for a lot. And at times, I manage situations where just because I can tolerate it doesn't mean I should be dealing with it. You know, I have the capacity for it, but it doesn't mean I need to always hold on to it. Sometimes I just got to drop it. You know, it's like, this is too full. and I need to walk fast. I gotta pull some of it out before that can happen. Yeah, but for me, looking at that kid in the mirror, and I'm like, yo, you are vulnerable. If no one does anything for you, it's gonna mess up a lot for you. If I look at this version of myself, he has a lot that can go wrong. So it's a little harder to put priority of it. Nah, it ain't that big of a priority. You got a lot before you're really down bad. But it happens to everyone. So I'm aware of that. So for me, I look at myself in the mirror and I imagine I am 2 years old again. Exactly like I am in that picture where I almost looked sad and no one is coming to save me. I have to help him. That kid that never was parented the way he wanted, that people didn't pay a lot of attention to, which is why social media was something I had to pull away from at a certain point. I went into it for the wrong reasons at a certain point, or I started valuing the wrong things in it at a certain point. But yeah, I understood that when I look in the mirror and I look at that kid, no one is coming to save him. I can't watch everything go wrong for him. And I'm saying for him because it makes it easier for me to look at it that way, to make sacrifices for myself. Because this version of myself can go through a lot and still be perfectly fine. That version couldn't. So it's a little easier for me to feel like an urge to do something if it's crucial, like it's important. If this doesn't happen, it could go really wrong. It's very hard for me to say that about myself. So I look at myself in the mirror every morning and I say, this is how I'm going to love you. I'm going to go to the dentist. This is how I'm going to love you. I'm going to go do this. That works for me, and it really clicks. Just figure out what that is for you. Figure out what makes it easier for you to love yourself the same way you love the other people that weren't even good for you. Loving yourself is never going to be a wrong decision. It is never going to be a decision you regret. And the fact that you were willing to do it for someone who didn't deserve it, but not you. What are you telling yourself? Your brain is a system that learns on its own, not always the things you want it to. When it recognizes you are willing to do things for someone you weren't even that into, but then we can't even do that for ourselves, it starts looking at me and another person the exact same way. Oh, you have two decisions. Go to sleep early or stay up and go smoke. If you really cared about someone, or if you really cared about that person, you would tell them to go to sleep and not stay up late and go smoke and then get back on the game. But sometimes I do that because I don't look at myself as someone who deserves the best version of me. But that little kid in me that seems so vulnerable deserves it. Because I got to this point because I wanted to protect that kid so much. And now I can be the person I always wanted to have. Loving me. Myself. No one is going to know that better than me. And I haven't always done the greatest job of loving myself. So I need to understand exactly how to do that. Because I got in a situation where I loved the person I was with. But then there were certain things I realized it just felt like it didn't work. And it's not on her. There's part of it that I also don't have access to, that I couldn't give her access to. So me not focusing on myself in certain areas forced me to lose someone that would have been very great for me. Don't risk losing people that are great. You're already going to come across people that are very shitty that are going to try to strip you of everything that makes you great. So maximize the time you have with a lot of amazing people, even if it's for a season. And at times, maybe for a reason. But always extract something out of it. They'll be flawed. I'm pretty amazing, and I think I'm flawed in a lot of ways. But know who to give that grace, patience, forgiveness to. But understand that it's something that you're always going to have to give to yourself. And every single time you don't, I promise you, it will be counterproductive unless you know how to make that process work. Sometimes I kill myself over something because I'm like, yo, I really need to take this seriously. So I need that emotion of guilt, shame to step in real quick and do a low job. And then I'll manage those emotions. I know I'm not going to really need to feel that way. But for this moment, I need this. It's kind of like tough love. Sometimes you need someone cussing you out a little bit. I know when I need that. I just know how to, you gotta give the gentle side of me something positive at the end so he doesn't feel too bad. But yeah, that's what works for me. And I broke down why it works for me. I didn't really care to do that, but I want you guys to understand why this works for me. Because we're dealing with the same thing, a lack of self-love. How can you use that? How can you use my experience, my growth, to push yours? Learn to do that, and a lot of the times you will never come across someone that you can't extract something positive from. Whether you're experiencing that person for a long time and y'all are dating, or you just come across someone and y'all are just talking and you had a very deep conversation. Make it work for you, or else it'll break you. I love y'all. Now I want y'all to prioritize who you're becoming. You don't know that person yet, so give it time for it to sink. I love y'all. Be great. Be patient.